Different World Pharmacy, Vol. 4 Chapter 5. Surviving the Holy City and Confronting the Great Treasure. T.L. Note. I replaced Holy Kingdom to Holy City since it was mentioned in the third volume that it was located in a small city. T.L. Note. The common weapon for divine art users is the divine wand, which is shorter, while the armament of Medicine God is referred as Medicine God Staff is because it's longer than the regular wand. If you compare the length of Medicine God Staff and Ellen's wand, there is a considerable difference in length. That's why I'll keep referring the armament of Medicine God as Medicine God Staff. The priest sentries would discern in the morning that Solomon has regained his divine arts. Solomon was a head priest who lived and worked in the church. Since he committed a treason, he has no other place to reside. However, he can temporarily settle at the house of de Medici's family. Anyways, I can't guarantee Solomon's safety. A sentry will regularly come to monitor, maybe a few hours at most before he came back. Let's hurry. If you escape by land, you'll be caught up by the priest sentries, so let's fly. Medicine God Staff can seem to support two people. Solomon, don't touch the staff itself because it's impossible with my strength to support both our weight. Falma noticed a brass lock in the shape of the letter D, which was hanging at the entrance of a jail cell block. He removed the lock by erasing the sum of the cell bar. Then he bundled the lock to the chain connected to Solomon's cuffs, then interlocked it to Medicine God Staff. T.L. Note. Falma removed the jail bar using his non-elemental attribute, erase, which can disintegrate substances. I plan to transport Solomon by dangling him to Medicine God Staff. Right, bring that cloth to keep you warm. Solomon, who knew Falma's ability about erase, asked him, Falma, could you make a wand with this bar? Oh, yes. However, a wand made of iron bar? In this way, Falma thought that the iron bar is made of special material since Solomon requested it. There is no crystal stone to amplify the power, but if you chant the divine invocation and sanctify it, it will become a divine wand at minimum. Solomon said that a divine wand was sanctified by the priests. It can also be used as a regular wand, however, the invocation to sanctify the wand is only known by the priests of the Great Church. Solomon possesses the secrets of the Great Church. Once known that he is alive and had escaped, it would be dangerous. From the Great Church's perspective, Solomon can't be alive. There is a lot I don't know. I wonder if I could make a wand if I recite that divine invocation. A human being must first practice and become a priest and cleanse himself, but it seems that Falma-sama's body is originally pure. The Medicine God is the one after all who created it. Did Medicine God made this staff using divine invocation? It's a semi-real staff, so it looks like special and exquisite because of the material. I see. I don't even know what material is the Medicine God staff made of yet. Falma noticed that the material of the Medicine God staff is not made from the known elements in earth. I also want to create my own divine wand since I've promised to return this staff. Falma hopes that his next wand, staff will have a similar performance to Medicine God Staff. Well, what would it be like to return a divine staff to the church that humans can't wield? You have utilized this staff to save many people and even the imperial capital. Falma-sama absolutely deserved the Medicine God Staff. Solomon lowered his head and was dismal prior to what he said. Let's get out of here now. As Falma tried to get out of the jail's window, he found 5 sentries on patrol. The priest sentries came to patrol and was just around the prison. If one would escape through window, one would definitely be discovered. I think we can get out of here. They opened the door of the unlocked cell and went to the aisle. Let's escape towards the underground passage of the cathedral downstairs. We can escape if we passed through the emergency exit of the cathedral's underground. I'm sorry, Falma-sama, but please open this door. Falma erased the locked iron door that leads to the emergency staircase. They walked downstairs and Falma suddenly remembered. By the way, you said last time that the great treasure is at the underground of the cathedral. Yes. Is it possible to take a glance before we escape? I don't think that there's a chance next time to return here at the underground of the cathedral. If possible, I'd like to see the treasure before going home. Only for a short time, or else we may be caught up by the sentries. I'll be just looking at it. Here it is. Both of them infiltrated into the special treasure vault deep underground where the great treasure is kept. Falma raised the large locked door. In the center of the room, a treasure was displayed in a glass case on a luxuriously decorated pedestal. Solomon advises Falma before he took a step into the room. If you step on the floor, it will respond to Falma Sama's divine power, so please approach the great treasure while floating. Falma was grateful for Solomon's accurate information in regards to the matters and structure of the great church. Oh, that's the treasure. Falma floats on a medicine god's staff and approaches the great treasure. Solomon acts as a lookout at the entrance and watches over Falma. Does the great treasure react when you touch it? Because human beings can't touch the great treasure, they become responsive only when the glass case is opened and not when you pick them up. I feel like a thief. I'm going to touch it. What? How would you touch the treasure without opening the case? Falma raised his hands and extends it towards the glass case. His hand penetrates and reached out through the glass. Carefully minding that he would trigger the alarm, he grabbed the great treasure and slips it out of the glass. Oh, never would I thought that it'd really exist. It was translucent and had been hidden away, but it was undeniably. It's my official identity card. His lifelong identity card. If his memory was correct, he would have died with his identity card in his breast pocket. It seems that his identity card back on Earth was also transferred in this realm. What kind of miracle would occur? Since it is a treasure of medicine god, is it going to produce a miracle? Nothing of that sort would happen. This is just an identity card. Falma thinks that there should have been something else that have been transported aside from his identity card. For example, mobile phones and personal computer PC. He thought that if he could have produced electricity, he could use it for a variety of purposes. He sighed, wondering why he came here with his identity card. What are the features of that identity card? Solomon is thrilled to hear about the purpose of the identity card. Aside from identification of personnel, well, it could unlock certain facilities. A laboratory. Where are the certain facilities? Solomon further asked question. The secret of the great treasure was about to be revealed. Oh, it's not in this realm. A key to a place that is not in this world. I see, Solomon thought. Before. Solomon-san, you mentioned that the medicine god used the power of the holy spring to return to heaven. Falma remembered Solomon's words. Where do you think that spring is? It is not written in the scriptures that we can read. It may be in the original scriptures, which could only be viewed by the high priest. Solomon, who spoke up to that point, suddenly heard a noise. I feel like I heard a voice. Let's get out of here. I agree. I want to know more about this identification card. Let's borrow it for a while. Falma took the replica in his pocket and compared it. I guess it'll be found out if I replace the original with replica as it is. The replica identification card is elaborately painted iron plate. Falma made a glass made of silicon dioxide, on the spot, made it the size of a card, placed the iron replica plate on it, and erased the iron component. Then only the picture of the replica is transferred to the glass plate. TL note. The silicon dioxide created by Falma is not a sand, one of the three main ingredients in non-crystalline glass, but a quartz, a crystalline glass. Furthermore, Falma coated the surface of the replica with reflective material to make it look like the original. He also enchanted it with divine power and subjected it to moderate frosted glass processing. The replica card is gleaming with Falma's divine power and is also translucent. Done. How is it? It looks exactly like the original great treasure. Solomon was stunned. Well, it is. Falma enclosed the replica with both hands. He then concentrated his divine power, thus allowing the replica card to become a part of his body, then turns it into semi-entity, in order to penetrate the glass case without activating the alarm. Falma then placed the replica inside the glass case. Though it's not my original body, it seems that this body is useful. Falma realized that his semi-entity body proves to be advantageous aside from having no shadow. I'm just going to borrow it for a while. I'll return it after. In the first place, all the divine treasures belong to the guardian deities. They are just kept by humans. That's when I heard a voice from here. The sentry priests rushed in. The group consists of 10 sentry priests armed with divine wands. It looks like we've spent too much time here. Falma turns around and dons his hood to hide his face. He then also inserted the original great treasure inside his pocket. Solomon also hid his face using the cloth he brought from his cell block. Intruders. Who are you? I'm sorry. I didn't touch the treasure. In the dark they cannot see each other's faces. Falma and Solomon can't hide their presence since some luminescence are radiating from the medicine guide staff. It seems that a sentry priest noticed Solomon's escape and notified a group to arrest Solomon. Flèche de la glace, ice arrow. The invocation was casted by one of the priests, and countless ice arrows flew. Dangerous. Falma casted a chantless invocation and holds his staff while envisioning an image of a melting arrow. Then the ice arrow casted by the priest evaporates. TL note. Remember, Falma can cast a chantless divine art skill just by imagining. It is as seen in the early portion of first volume when Falma first showed his divine skill to Ellen during their tutor. It's a divine skill of the divine art of water under calefaction, heating, that Ellen taught Falma. However, chantless technique is rare and the priest can't comprehend what Falma had done. What did you do? Two priests then put the tip of their wand together. It is the pre-reaction of the divine skill resonance which increases the power of the divine skill. Enfer de brûlure, scorching hell. A large scorching flame propels towards Falma. Do you really use a large flame system in such a closed area space? Falma decided what to do if he loses oxygen since the flame consumed a large amount of oxygen. Please retreat, Falma told Solomon sharply. The intruder has a divine art attribute of water. One of the sentry priests shouted. Leave this to me. Solomon draws a straight line on the stone floor with the improvised wand made of iron bars. The floor stone, enchanted with divine power from Solomon's divine art, then rises from the floor. Collier de la Terra, wrath of the earth. TL note. The earth refers to ground or land. It does not refer to the planet Earth. The stones that rises from the floor are given directional control by Solomon, thus propelling the stones towards the priests. Wow. Even though the water attribute priests deployed an ice barrier, the thin barrier was easily shattered. It's a high-level divine art user with earth attributes. Solomon did not intentionally hit them, but the power was tremendous such that several pillars of the great temple were damaged. It seems to have been perceived enough as a threat. I'm sorry, but we're going to have you immobilize. Solomon chants and endowed a divine power into his temporary wand. He then threw it towards the priests. The timing was calculated, then Solomon triggered the activation chant. Space disabled a derived quicksand field. Though Solomon lost his temporary wand, the effect was outstanding. At the same time as the chanting, the floor of the cathedral collapsed and became a fine sand. It was further broken down and turned into quicksand. What? This is. The priests tried to escape, but a white line marking the area of divine art is engraved on the floor. The priests lost their footing and slipped down the stairs as they were caught in the quicksand inside the area of divine area. Solomon lost his temporary wand, but his opponents are immobilized. Falma is floating with a medicine guide staff, glancing down at a large hole on the floor. Falma does not intend to bury the priest alive in the sand to escape from the cathedral. Falma was relieved that only bruising was the damage inflicted upon looking at the priests. You can get out in the hole in a day. A day. Falma is worried about the priest, but the hole is open and a relief will come. We have to escape, Falma-sama. The exit is here. Solomon-san is a person who does quite a bit when he does it. I'm still a former Inquisition office. I'll use whatever hand I can. Solomon guides Falma and walks on the long underground waterways. It was dark without a single light, however Falma's medicine god staff naturally radiates light. And finally, they reached the exit. This is the sixth underground waterway. It will be the southeast exit of the great church of the Holy City. When they opened the door that separates the underground and ground, they saw the sky brightening. Well, let's fly. Falma connected the medicine god's staff in the loop-shaped chain through the lock, and suspended Solomon from the staff. Isn't it heavy? Solomon is worried. As long as the buoyancy power of the medicine god's staff is maintained using Falma's divine power, then there's a possibility that the staff can carry dozens of people. Heek! Solomon shrieks. As the sun rises, Falma rises rapidly into the sky and accelerates. The sacred city is gradually becoming smaller and farther away. Solomon, who was afraid of heights, had been staring over the top and earnestly tried his best not to look down. After bearing the cold winter sky for a few hours without taking a break, Falma and Solomon finally reached the imperial capital of Sanfluiv Empire. Falma then returned to his room through the window of the de Medici's house. He then fell down and asleep. The empress had already made a contact with medicine god Pius. The high priest of the Holy City squeezed the letter he received from a carrier pigeon sent by Combe, head priest of Sanfluiv Parish Church. According to Combe's report, the incarnation of the medicine god will return the medicine god's staff if he meets Solomon. He also said that Falma would travel to Holy City, only if the high priest would greet and discuss the formal procedures with the empress, as he is one of the royal court apothecary. In that case, it is unlikely possible to bring the medicine god to the Holy City and seal him in the great church. It wouldn't be worthwhile if the Holy City confronts the empress of Sanfluiv and the Holy MPI. For medicine god, the head priest of the Sanfluiv church who sent the letter to Pius sighed. The Empress, Elizabeth II, is beloved by all in the empire. He could not intimidate the Empress directly, as there were neither hostile forces threatening her power in the country nor a problem in air. Pius, who has the final mystery of the divine vein seal, is not afraid of one-on-one combat with the Empress. However, turning the allies of empire and the empire itself into hostile enemies will be terrible. If the Empress favors the medicine god, it will be difficult to lure the medicine god to great church. It seems that the divine power of the current medicine god is tremendously powerful because the whole cathedral emitted an illuminance just by stepping on it. And the Advent period this time will be very long. Aha! The past records of the incarnations of medicine god didn't even have so much divine power. Even the guardian deities of the past, only a few can emit light. The disruption of the incarnating order of the medicine god caused such effect. A guardian deity that replaced the descent of another guardian deity. The order in which the guardian deity descend on the ground is generally determined. If this guardian deity descends, it can be guessed by calculating the cycle that another guardian deity will descend next. However, last time, the medicine god did not descend and was skipped, and the next guardian deity descends. Pius, together with his precedent, speculated. Is it descending with the divine power of two guardian deity, or it descended by collecting all the divine power that had accumulated in the heaven while it did not descend for a long time? It's a shame to leave it unchecked. It's rare for the guardian deity to come down. I don't know when it will descend next. Why is there such tremendous divine power in medicine god who can only create medicine and heal people? If the divine power of the current medicine god is extracted completely, oh, it's regrettable that the divine power that resides in medicine god is wasted. There was a certain circumstance that the great church gathered the divine power of the successive generations of guardian deities' incarnation. However, Pius recalled that medicine god promised to return the medicine god staff to the great church. Pius was wondering why the medicine god stays with Solomon, but if the priest named Solomon can be used as a bargaining card, there is no use for it. Pius thought so. Don't take your eyes off in monitoring Solomon. Let him commit suicide. It was time to end it. However, great priest. Solomon escaped. The night priest reported to the chief commander of the great temple. The chief commander as well as Pius was surprised. What? How can he escape if his divine vein is sealed? The commander-chief barks at the night priest who reported to him. The iron bars on the windows has been removed as well as some portion of the cell iron bar. And the lock is gone. Sorry, find him. He couldn't have escaped the gate of the holy city. He couldn't have gone too far. That day, the holy city was in turmoil and all the priests are dispatched to search Solomon. However, they couldn't find Solomon. There were reports that 2 intruders had entered the underground cathedral. The sentry priests involved were reprimanded because the great treasure was safe and not stolen. I don't think Solomon committed suicide. Will the medicine god enraged if he finds out that Solomon is missing? Pious headaches increased. In this case, medicine god cannot be called to the holy city. 2 days after Falma and Solomon returned to the imperial capital, the head priest of the cathedral at imperial capital came to de Medici's house with a personal letter from the holy city. As a result of the judgment by the great church, it is decided that Falma will possess the medicine god staff for a while. Falma was surprised at the priest who reported with a disgusted face. Well, why? I reported to Her Majesty and I was planning to make an itinerary. Falma completely knew why. Solomon is a little bit sick and he can't see you soon. Are you serious? I heard his divine vein was sealed and his body was battered. Falma's expression then turned sour. No. It's not like that. I'll contact you again from the great church. Excuse me. After seeing the priest hurriedly running back, Solomon, dressed in plain clothes, appeared slowly. Because I don't think I'll ever recover from that. The pair looked at each other and smirked.